let's talk about your insecurities, sir. Actually, let's do just a little poll of the room. All right. How many people here have ever been insecure about their age? Raise your hands. Cool. Look, everybody, look around. Look around, see how many hands are up. Okay, cool. How many people here have ever been insecure about their height? Raise your hand. You said everything. You're just gonna get. I'm just gonna just keep my hand perma up. Okay, cool. How many people have been insecure about their like race or ethnicity at any point? Cool. All right, look around and also look. By the way, on this one, look at whose hands are down as well as up. All right. A lot of people with the same, essentially same skin colors. One's up, one's down. Just interesting to know. All right. Let's see what else. How many people have been insecure about their job or education at any point? Yeah, some. This just shows I have smart people in my crowds, because less of that than some. All right. The point is this: as you look around, different people are raising their hands for different things. All right. And what I see a lot of is that I'll have two guys on a boot camp program, or two guys that know each other, and they're both giving opposite excuses and being envious of each other for different reasons. You have like the young, attractive guy who is like dirt poor and doesn't know where his next meal's coming from almost. And you have like the middle-aged, successful dude who it doesn't think is as physically attractive, right? A middle-aged guy is thinking, oh my God, if I was young and hot like him, I'd have no problem. Young guy's thinking, oh, if I had money like him and my life settled, I'd have no problem. And both of them are sitting there being envious of the other one and thinking that they have no chance, which is inherently very ironic, right? And this is why I had you stand up and have everybody tell you that you're a good-looking guy, which you are. Like you are. Like you have a good face. Like you are actually empirically attractive. I'm not hitting on you, I promise. But so a lot of guys would look at you and be like, wow, I wish I had his jawline, right? Whereas you're thinking, I wish I had that guy's height. I wish I had that guy's skin color, or whatever. All right. And also, I think if I remember correctly, you're doing okay. You're like relatively okay in life. You're not worrying where your next meal is coming from. Yeah. You're okay, right? So again, you have good things going for you. You have rough things going for you. And what you need to do, and this goes into managing lifestyle, making strategic decisions, you need to optimize for what you're good at and minimize what you're not as good at. If you know that you're very intelligent and charming and successful, but you're not a male supermodel, right? What should you do? Well, a couple different things. Number one, you should try and meet girls in ways where there's more dialogue before they have to make a decision. Probably you're going to do better with an in-person style of game where you can be social and the girl can get to know your personality, and you might not do as well online, right? If you're very good looking and have shitty game, you might do really well online. So that might be a strategic decision you make to go more an online route or more an offline route, because of you either have really good photos or you don't. If you don't have great photos, you can get like, I will, this is not me like pitching AI photos to you guys, but it's shocking how good the AI photos we're making in DBB are. So that's one thing, just get fucking better photos. But there is a limit, right? Because the photos still have to look like you to some extent, right? The more you don't have great looks, the more you need to meet someone socially first and then work towards appearance. But that's fine. That's a thing that's gonna happen for you. Also, the less good looking you are, the less direct you should open. If you looked like a male model, you could go up and be like, hey, I think you're kind of hot. The girl would probably be like, you're fucking hot too. And that would work for you. If you're not that male model guy, then you probably maybe go with a more social, even to the level like an opinion opener approach on the extreme case. Hey, I need your opinion on something. Start a whole dialogue, convey your personality, and then you subtly throw in the teasing as you go, right? On the other hand, if you don't have great lifestyle, well, then you're going to be limited to some extent in terms of some of the things you can do in terms of inviting a girl on a date, right? If you have a lot of money, one thing you can do that works really well, say you have a lot of money and you're traveling, it's extremely easy to get a girl on a date if you invite her to come on a flight with you, right? If you have a ton of money and that doesn't dent your wallet at all, and also it doesn't set bad precedents for a girl because with a girlfriend or a wife you would do that anyway, right? That's a very easy way to use a little bit of financial leverage to get a lot more dates. You don't have that option if you're the young, good-looking guy with no money, right? So there's all these different decisions you can make, and you can be strategic about what you have. And every single one of you, I promise you, is very good at a few things and not as good at certain things. And so you have options, right? Here's another one. Let's say if you're great at dancing versus a terrible dancer. If you're great at dancing, you're going to go to certain clubs where dancing is prevalent and the dance floor is the primary feature, potentially, especially if you're not good at talking, right? If you're good at talking and not at dancing, you're going to go to quieter clubs where there's more talking going on. You're going to feature your strengths. Or maybe if you're good at talking, you're going to do day game and not night game because you're going to feature your strengths. But you also should, to some extent, mitigate your weaknesses. If you are so good at dancing, the girls love you, and so bad at talking that as soon as you open your mouth, you turn them off, now you need to work on your talking and round out that weakness, right? But every single one of you, again, you have your strengths and your weaknesses, and you should be honest with yourself about them and maximize them. But to the extent that you cannot do anything about them, you should not care, okay? A quick story about height, because that's a big one for guys these days, or seems to be psychologically a big one for guys these days. So I was very lucky when it comes to height. I mean, not in the fact that I'm 5'7", but in the fact that I never found out that that was a problem until I was already successful with women. So I was fortunate enough that nobody told me like women like taller guys or whatever. And then I found a bunch of like pickup and dating forums. I learned all these other techniques. And by the time someone mentioned height as a sticking point or as a thing they were insecure about, I had already slept with like 60 women from cold approach. And so I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm short, but well, fuck it, I'm succeeding short, so I guess it doesn't matter, right? And so I was lucky in that regard that that never got put into my head. And had it been put into my head, it might have held me back. It might have slowed down my learning, right? But a lot of those things are only a problem to the extent that you think they're a problem, right? If you start getting insecure about them, it's an issue. Here's a good kind of illustrative story. This would have been, God, a long time ago. I've been in game too long. This has been probably 15 years ago at this point. In New York, I had a student on program that was young-ish. And so we went to like an 18 and up club in New York with like a bunch of young people, whatever. I met this girl. She was super young, super hot, super tall, and she was a professional model, right? And so I met her. The club had like this fountain area, and she was sitting down by the fountain. Started talking to her. She started loving me, started qualifying herself to me. Everything was going really well in terms of that. And then the nightclub was closing, and it was time for us to like, either leave together or not. And so we're sitting there. Every sign is she's going to go home with me. Every sign's all good. The bouncer says, hey, you guys need to leave. I stand up to leave, and she just sits there at the fountain and doesn't move. I'm like, that's strange. What's going on here? And so she's like, I'm like, are you coming? She's like, just sit back down for a minute. I'm like, so I sit back down, talk to her for a little bit, and then the bouncer's like, dude, you guys really have to go. So I'm like, come on, you got to go, like whatever. And she's like, I don't want to. I'm like, okay. Well, we have to at some point. She's like, hang on a second. And she like sits, like leans down and takes her high heels off, right? And this was not like a nice club. This is the kind of club you do not want to walk on the floors barefoot, right? But she's taking her high heels off. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I feel like I'm too tall for you. I don't want to be too tall, right? And so she was like probably like 5'11", like professional model. I'm 5'7", just normal dude. And she was insecure about her height around me because she thought I would be turned off that she's too tall and I would reject her based on her height, right? For all you short guys out there, right? Is that like, that's probably like the opposite of what you're thinking. Oh my God, this tall model is like insecure, she's too tall for me, right? But it all comes down to frame, right? And it all comes down to what you're qualifying on. Or the same thing with age. Let's say you're an older guy and you want to, potentially sleep with occasionally younger girls, right? Well, that can be framed as two different ways. It can be framed as you're old and creepy for talking to them, and that's not a good frame for you, right? Or it can be framed as they're young and ditzy and silly, and you have to qualify them hard on whether you can actually take them seriously as a relationship partner, right? Depending on the frame around the thing, it can either be an asset or a liability. It can either be a positive or a negative for you, right? Like, I could very congruently tell girls above a certain height, I'm honestly, I'm usually not into girls that are above a certain height. Like, you're cute, but I'm not sure about you, right? And that could actually work to a certain extent, right? If your frame is good enough. Does that make sense? So just keep that in mind, that everybody has your pros and your cons. And the other thing is, I think there's this philosophy for guys that they need to, deserve a girl in order to get one. You started asking me a question last night during boot camp, and then I sent you on an approach, and you never actually finished answering the question. But I was actually eager to answer it, so I'm going to answer it now because it relates to this. He asked me a question that's like, it's one of those style of questions that annoys me, but we'll get to it. So he basically said, this other dating coach had this philosophy about X, which is an awful way to start a question with me. Don't ever start a question with me that way. Because oftentimes I'm just like, I disagree, or I don't fucking want to hear it, or I don't know their philosophy, which is actually the thing I was going to start about. I don't even know their Do you know the question I'm talking about? Yeah, okay. So he said this other dating coach has this philosophy about being sex worthy, right? And what it means to be sex worthy and this and that. And the first thing I was going to say is I don't know that coach's material. I don't know exactly what it is, et cetera. But that idea of being sex worthy is a very interesting one because there absolutely are things you can do to make yourself more attractive. And you should be aware of those and you should do them, right? If you can get a better hairstyle, you should do it. If you can dress better, you should do it. If you can get in the gym, you should do it. If you can make yourself more financially successful, you should do it. If you can make yourself better in bed, you should do it. Right? If you can make yourself keep an erection longer, potentially you should do it as long as you're not violating your health too much doing it, right? There's all these things you can do to make yourself more sex worthy. And by all means, do all of them. But in the moment when you're talking to a girl, the thought, am I sex worthy or not? Am I good enough for her? Is the farthest thing from what should be or furthest thing, technically, being proper speaking English. You should not be thinking that in the moment. That should be so far out of your head, it should be nowhere near it. Okay? Because in the moment, you show up for the game, you just play the game, right? And this is a metaphor that I've had as an athlete and as a competitor throughout my entire life. For you guys who don't know my history, I played soccer, to you guys football at a high level. I played chess at a high level. I was a professional poker player. I've done a lot of these competitive endeavors. And the interesting thing in a competitive endeavor is nobody wants to hear your sob story. Nobody wants to hear your version of why you should have won. They just care, did you win or not, right? As a professional poker player, one of the worst things is the guy who tells you all his bad beat stories, tells you how he made so many good plays, and then he loses money at the end of the month, right? All that matters is how much money you made at the end of the month in poker. All that matters in a chess game is did you win or did you lose? It doesn't matter if you won because they blundered their queen or because you played brilliantly. At the end of the day, you won or you lost, and that's it, right? It's more important in a competitive endeavor on game day. It's not important to deserve to win. It's important to win. And it's okay to win ugly. And that's the mentality I have about game a lot of times. So let's say that the girl's out of my league and I'm unworthy of her. I don't give a shit if she's in my bed the next morning. I don't care that I was unworthy of her. Does that make sense? And I'm very happy being the guy who's punching above my weight class. I'm very happy being the guy who got the girl I didn't deserve and nobody can explain it. And I don't have to justify it to myself because she's here. Make sense? Right? So stop thinking about, do I deserve this? And just start thinking about, how do I do this? How do I make this happen? How do I fucking win? Right? And I promise you guys, just looking around this room, I have seen guys that are poorer, shorter, more ethnic, have like horrible accents that can barely speak the language, and I've seen them succeed. Okay? Every single one of you has way more going for you than guys who I have seen succeed magnificently at this. Does that make sense? Right? Whatever you think you have, I'll point out in the back, even like in a wheelchair, right? I had a student in a wheelchair in Chicago who fucking crushed it. He was so good. He did this thing, and this is the thing you can learn if you don't already do it. He would just, in the club, he'd have girls sit down on his lap, and he would like dance with them on his lap, and he'd like spin them around and do wheel. It was fucking, the girls loved it. It was like the biggest thrill ever. And also like he got to like cut through the crowds in the club because everybody like deferred to him. He was just, it was amazing, right? So number one, whatever issue you have, whatever thing you think is holding you back, just get over it and just succeed in spite of it. And number two, what you can't fix, you feature, right? If there's something you cannot change, you feature it. If you're super tall and you're insecure about it, instead of trying to like hunch and make yourself look short, you know what? Dress to look tall and just be the tallest motherfucker. And get all the girls who just love tall guys, right? Or whatever it is, right? Or if you are a certain race, there are some girls that are super into that race. And that's awesome. And that's great, right? But then also get all the rest too. Like, don't let it limit you, right? So again, a lot of this stuff, there's all kinds of negative thoughts you can have. There's all kinds of ways you can get in your own way, and you can convince yourself not to approach. You convince yourself you're not good enough. You can convince yourself that it's not okay to escalate, right? And this isn't just personal stuff. It can be, like, you can convince yourself it's not okay to approach in the tube. Convince yourself it's not okay to approach with other people around. Convince yourself it's weird to go to nightclubs. You can convince yourself all kinds of negative things. Don't. The major question to ask yourself is, how can I win? How can I succeed? Right? Take it as an assumption that there is a way, and then figure out that way. Because again, I promise for you guys there is that way. Right? And all of you guys have a lot more going for you.